Hello, everybody. This is Instructor Podcast 12, my last Instructor podcast. And sorry this is late, but I had a busy day today. I was out fighting for higher pay for graduate students. Some of you may have seen us on campus with our big signs, etc. Anyway, so I just wanted to touch base real quick. I don't really have anything formally planned. I do have some of your attendance cards and things that you wrote on them that I will try to respond to. But just know our last class, if you missed it or if you were there, we talked about the ePortfolio checklist, which I handed out to you as per Christian's request, but also it was something I was going to do. And some final suggestions for your reflection, which is, one of the biggest pieces of your ePortfolio. So make sure you work hard on that. Sorry, my camera. You want to work hard on that reflection. And hopefully you got some helpful feedback from your peers based on the peer review we did in class on the first drafts of your reflections. And that you had some time to compare what you're writing to what other people are writing. A lot of times that's the most valuable part of a peer review, is not necessarily giving the feedback or getting the feedback, but simply looking to see what other people are writing and getting ideas from them, sharing your work. So you can use that peer review sheet. You can use that peer review sheet to, check what my expectations are, because basically what I'll be looking for in your reflection is exactly what you are looking for in your peers' drafts of their reflections on that peer review sheet. So use that sheet to help you make sure that you're hitting all those expectations in your final reflection. So just remember for your final reflection to discuss how you have met the choices that you've made as a writer, why you made those choices as a writer, and how those choices are related to 3 of the 9 writing outcomes that we've talked a lot about and that are on the assignment sheet for the reflection. So, do your best to what I suggest actually is that you first write your reflection and look at all the artifacts you have and think about what choices you've made and how you've improved and why you made those choices, and then look at those writing outcomes and see which one of the writing outcomes your choices relate to, because it's easier to do that. It's easier to start your reflection from what you have done as a writer and then look to those writing outcomes, because I guarantee the choices you've made relate in some way to 3 of those 9 outcomes. So that's just something to think about. Let's see, make sure that you are specific too. Give lots of examples of how you have improved your writing, not just, I've improved my writing in this class, or I've learned how to, reach a certain rhetorical audience. Give examples of how you've done that, and that's where your artifacts come into play. You can talk about certain projects and how you change the audience and focus more on them from first draft to second to final. And then you can also use artifacts or little you can also use artifacts that show portions of that progress from project to project to project. And so that's where your artifacts can help. They can offer some of that evidence for you. So the forum post for this week is pretty simple. Basically, you are doing a status update for your peers. And remember, this is due tomorrow night, Thursday night at 11. And then the response to each other is due by Friday night at 11, because all of the classwork needs to be done by Friday. So after you've watched this podcast, simply start a new conversation and post in 350 words or more answers to these questions. How prepared you feel, your past experience with portfolios. How excited are you? How does this relate to your life? What do you hope to learn? How nervous are you? What steps have you taken? And if you have a URL or link, hyperlink to your electronic portfolio, please share that with your group mates if you have one, if your e-portfolio is published, even if it's in rough draft form. And whatever you do, please make sure that either way, ask for their feedback or advice on some aspect of your portfolio. Even if you don't have an electronic portfolio, explain to your group mates something you're worried or anxious about and ask for their advice. Because in the responses, what I would like you each to do is respond to all of your group mates' posts, not just 2 of them, but everyone who posts, please respond to them in at least 100 words or more, and just give them some feedback, help, advice, compassion, suggestions, or encouragement for completing their e-portfolios by next week. And please address any concerns that they might have posted about in their original post. Don't forget that you have a final class quiz to take by Friday at 11 p.m. That is under tests and quizzes. And what you see will look like this. You stand here writing. I already took it technically, so this would be open for you. You'd click on it and you have 30 minutes. I decided to make it 30 minutes instead of 20 minutes to take the test. And it is a reflection on the summer's reading. So make sure that you have read that reading, which is I Stand Here Writing. And that reading is under readings. Under resources. Readings. It is this text right here, Summer's I Stand Here Writing. So it's only a few pages, but like I said in class, it's beautifully written, and I'd like you to reflect on your writing processes and how you find sources for your writing based on kind of one thing that she said. And make sure that you do that as your final quiz by Friday night at 11. As well as the response. So you should be done by Friday at 11 for everything for the class. Yes. Okay, so let's see. Project 4s I'm working on still. They will be returned to you by Friday night. And remember, your final e-portfolio is due by noon on Friday, December 18th. That's a week from Friday at noon. I can't give any deadline extension, so don't be late. Be sure to post your URL to Sakai Assignments. There will be a link here under Sakai Assignments. There'll be one more assignment title that says Final ePortfolio URL, and you'll click on that and just put the URL for your ePortfolio in there so that I can click on it and see it, and that will be your how you submit your final ePortfolio to me. Remember, no deadline extensions, so make sure that you do that. I will open that assignment on Tuesday, the first day of final exams at 8 a.m. I think. So make sure that you can submit the URL for your final ePortfolio anytime between Tuesday and Friday, but make sure you do it. Yeah. So just to address some of the things that you guys said briefly on your on your cards. One of you said they're anxious about tying projects together with learning outcomes. Don't be anxious about that. Once you start writing, the ways that you have changed, the things you've learned, the choices you've made as a writer and why you made those choices as a writer, I guarantee they're going to relate to at least 3 of those outcomes. So again, try to write your reflection first and then plug in the outcomes last. Or as you're going through all of your, and I suggest this on the project assignment sheet, as you're looking through all of my comments and you're starting to think about how you're going to revise to make these even better, usually the comments I give relate to one of those outcomes. So I'll comment on, how you reached out to your audience or not. And so if that seems to be a recurring issue where you're not targeting your audience, Well, make that one of the learning outcomes that you grew in, because by the final draft, which is the one you put on your e-portfolio, you learned how to reach out to an audience, or at least it's something that you started to think about more. And tell me what audience you started with and what audience you've ended with, and tell me how you are targeting them more. What language are you using? What tone are you using? Did you include them in your thesis, in your conclusion more? So tell me specifically what you did to reach out to that audience more. And there you go, you've got one learning outcome. So again, think about the changes and the ways that you've grown as a writer, and then link that to a learning outcome, and you'll do fine. This person said, what am I looking for in terms of design? And remember to read that Fullerton multimodality text. Just review it under resources. Fullerton, what we value in multimodal composition. This one, it talks about the criteria for design that I'm looking for. So take a look at that. But basically, it's only 50 points of your portfolio, so don't worry too much about the design. If you're worried about it, just keep it simple, make it basic design, and I will, that's only 50 points, and the simpler the better. You have templates to work with in Wix, so use those templates. Examples of artifacts somebody asked for. If you're looking for examples, remember there is a whole portfolio resources folder under resources, and there are examples of, if you take a look at any of these 3 sample e-portfolios from former students of mine, they have examples of artifacts on there. So there are some examples there. Really, an artifact is anything that shows evidence of you making progress, or of your writing process. A comment somebody gave you, a scribble you did on a napkin, a brainstorm you wrote, an attendance card, a forum post, any of those things. Take a picture of the little portion that refers to whatever it is that you're trying to show you improved in, and that's your artifact. I want to say if you liked the class or not and how you felt. I did like this class. I thought you guys were actually one of the most vibrant and lively classes I've had in a while. So I did enjoy it. I always had a story to tell my husband when I came home, especially the story about Monty shouting that he loved me at the end of class on the last day. And I thought, that's not a selection on the idea survey. But anyway, and I think Monty asked me in his card to give him a shout out. So shout out to Monty. But no, I did enjoy this class. I always enjoy well, no, that's not true. Sometimes classes are tougher than others. So, but you guys were a very lively class, and there were a lot of great different personalities in it that I don't always get. And you were talkative and for the most part awake, and I appreciated that. So I did like this class, actually, more than others. So thanks for asking that. Let's see. So somebody asked for examples of a reflection. Well, again, go to those resources right here. Take a look at the different examples of reflections here. And, I don't know that all of them refer to the writing outcomes. I can't remember because I've really started to get strict on that, and I may not have been as strict before, but use those as an example of what a good reflection looks like. Yeah, so remember you have those examples. What to do to get an A? Follow the guidelines that I gave you. Look at that peer review sheet that I gave you in class the last day of class. Look at all of those expectations. As you were going through and reviewing your peers' papers, you should have been thinking about your own paper. Oh, did I do this? Did I do this? Did I not do this? And if you didn't, then you're not meeting the expectations. So look at that peer review sheet and that checklist. Also look at the assignment sheet, and it's on there. All my expectations are on there. Tips for a good final project: be yourself, keep it simple, and give yourself time to do a good job. So work on a little bit every day from now until then, so you're not pushing it to the last minute. I said, be yourself, show me who you are, be creative as much as you can be. Don't be creative if you can't be, that's okay. Be you and keep it simple. Don't try to get too crazy with the design. Focus more on the revisions that you make. Yeah, and that's it. Have fun. And remember, you have that little creative piece you can add for a little extra credit that could bump you from a B minus to a B or an A minus to an A. So, add that little creative piece, but make sure you reference it in your reflection. So, goodbye, 104. It was lovely meeting you all, and I wish you the best of luck in the semester and with the rest of your careers, wherever they may take you. Life is your oyster. Okay, ciao.